Okay, so for our lesson today, we are gonna talk about our ellipse. So we have there in our conic section nga ellipse. So let's have the definition if we are going to say an ellipse. Okay, please read the first arrow, decilio.
Locus is a part of a locus of a point which moves so that the sum of its distance from two fixed points is constant. That sum is equal to 2a length of the major axis.
Okay, thank you, Decilio. So we have there when we say ellipse, that is the locus of a point which moves so that the sum of its distance from two fixed points is constant. Okay, so naaditay kuan kuno locus of a point. Usara gyud ang atong hinumduman ani class if we have ellipse. The word sum. Okay, if you have there the word sum, that is automatically an ellipse. In any problems that you encountered, it could be like problem solving, situational problems. If you can see the sum there and then it talks about conic section, that is automatically an ellipse. Okay, so let's go over the parts of our ellipse. Di ba? Mauman sa natong gibuhat last time about sa parabola in which we have to tackle the different parts in order for us to solve and to know what are the parts of a conic section. So, natin gitawag diri nga that sums equal to 2a, that is the length of our major axis. Okay, so we have there our first part. We have the fixed point that is focus. But since our ellipse has two focus, mo na siya gitawag natog foci. Okay? So ang fixed point nato, remember lang sa keyword fixed point, that is focus or foci. 'Di ba we have as well focus in our parabola. But in our parabola, we only have one. While in ellipse, we have two. Now we have as well two axes of symmetry. So we have there the major axis and the minor axis. So the major axis, it is 2a, while the minor axis will be 2b. So when we say the major axis, mao gina siya ang atong shall we say that is the largest axis nga atong makita sa atong parabola. I'm gonna show you later how a parabola looks like with its parts. Okay, and then we have their midpoint of the two axes, that is our center. So you have there the center, it is a fixed point as well, in which that is the basis for all of the other parts. Now we have our endpoint, and we call that one as our vertex. Parameter on how circular the conic section, that is eccentricity. And eccentricity must be greater than 0 but less than 1. Okay, it should be greater than 0 but less than 1. So we need these two formulas here. So we have the D is equals to A over E. That is, ang kanang D na to, that is the directrix. Diba? You know directrix, that is a fixed line. So in our ellipse, naapod tayo directrix class. So sa atong parabola, diba, ang makita na, asa gani na to makita ang directrix sa atong parabola? Asa gani na to makita, class? Katong
Likod sa
line
okay.
sa
Likod
gawas or sa sulod?
sa gawas.
Sa gawas. Okay, very good. So same sa gihapon sa tuang ellipse, ang nakalahi lang nila is duha na ang directrix sa atong ellipse. And then same gihapon ato, mura siyang nagtalikod gani sa tuang U. So na siya sa gawas nga part. So both ends pud ni siya sa tuang ellipse. And then we have there the eccentricity, kanang eccentricity class. Dira na to mahibaw-an kung unsa ka circular ang atoang ellipse. Okay? And then if we're going to have or to get the result that is C over A. Okay, so asa din nagikan ang mga C over A, teacher, kanang A, kanang B dira. You're gonna know later on. But this time, ato sa siyang ila-ilahon. So we have here, the next one is the distance from center to the focus. So how are we going to have this one? Dira na nato magamit ang ato ang foci. So we have there the f sub 1 and the f sub 2. And this center from our center padong sa foci 1 o foci 2, that is equivalent to 2c. Okay? The kanang sukod sa focus 1 o sa focus 2 mo na itong gitawag og 2c. So, here in ellipse, this Pythagorean theorem, as you can see, this Pythagorean theorem is very useful. But as you can see, la teacher, a squared lagi ang nasa gawas, di ba? Ang Pythagorean theorem kay kuan man ano, a squared plus b squared is equals to c squared. Because here in ellipse class, a is big man. A ang pinakadako. That's why as you can see here, 2a nato is major axis. So you have to be familiar lang with this one ha. A squared is equals to b squared plus c squared. Okay, so now class, do you have any questions for our um, parts of our ellipse? Like questions? Or maybe, kuan paguro ninyo, dili pa kay klaro since we're not having the illustration. So, mao din ni siya atong parabola class. This is what we call our parabola. So, we have here, di ba, nag-start man ta sa focus ato. So, mao ni siya atong focus. Duha atong focus. We have the foci 1, the focus 1 or f sub 1 and then f sub 2. Okay? And then this is our center. By the way, an ellipse could be like this, horizontal or higda, and it could be possibly as vertical. Okay, vertical or varog. So in this case, class, as you can see, higda siya. So meaning to say, our major axis is on the x-axis. Or shall we say, pahigda siya because iyang major axis kay mas dako og value ang atoang x value. So mao ni siya nga atong major axis class kay mao ni siya pahigda. That's why we have here horizontal. Okay, so this is our major axis and then ang atong minor axis is kani siya. This one. And then we have here 4 vertices. As you can see, so this one is vertex 1, vertex 2, and then we have the co-vertex, which is ma-identify na to siya sa ang minor axis. Okay, mo na siya itong mga parts. And then teacher, asa ganito makita ang directrix? Makita na to ang directrix class diri. Kani siya nga part diri, and then on the other side, which is kanipod diri. Okay? So, mao to siya ang mga parts class sa atuang ellipse. So, now, sure, asa man na makita ang katong mga A, B, C, D? Asa man na siya makita, teacher? Okay, ang kana ato ang A class is makita na siya sa ato ang major axis. Kaya ningon man ta, diba? 2A is equals to major axis. So, ang kana atong B is naa sa ato ang minor axis. So, kani siya ang distance ani mo ato ang minor axis or 2B. Anong teacher, asa man makita ang C? Ang C class is ang distance ani imuhang focus sa imuhang center mo na siya C. Okay, and then kung moingon tag 2C mo na siya ang distance sa imong first focus o sa imong second focus. Okay? So that is for our um, parts of our ellipse. So far, na questions, clarifications, violent reactions, or nasabtan lang? Sige, let me know. Asa dapit naglibog or na questions? Wala? Unsa man ni? Silence means yes, silence means no. Okay. Sige. Now this time, let's have our kuan ato nang tan-awon kung unsay iyahang standard form or unsay iyahang standard nga equation if we are going to have our ellipse. So we have here, this is the standard form of the ellipse, um, which has the equation and a center of 0, 0. So kung unsa nang 0, 0 class? Kung ang iyahang center kay origin. Okay, so we have here the standard form of the equation of an ellipse with center 0, 0 and the major axis on the x-axis. So meaning to say, this is in the horizontal form. Kay iyang major axis na aman daw sa x-axis. So teacher, how will we know that kana siya nga formula is for horizontal siya? You can identify that one kay di ba we have there x squared and y squared man. So ang imong tan-awon class kung asa gani imong a dira, mao na siya maka-identify ka kung pa-horizontal ba siya or pa-vertical. Teacher nga no. 'Di ba niingon man ta nga ang atong A is our major axis which is taas siya. So kay ang atong A diri is naaman siya na under sa atong x squared or na siya na under sa atong x-axis. So meaning to say, mas taas day ang ato ang x ani. So kung pataas ato ang x is pa-horizontal iyahang graph. Okay, class, na sabtan. And then we have there plus y squared over b squared is equal to 1. So, mao ni siya tong goal class sa atong standard form sa ato ang ellipse. That it should be equal to 1. Diba? Kay lahi man tong sa parabola o sa circle. Lahi man sa ilahang standard form. And then as you can see, this time is plus na pud siya. Diba kay akong giingon ninyo pag last, if you can see there the sum of like that in a conic section, that is an ellipse. Okay. So we have there, since our major axis kay naman sa x-axis, so our A is greater than B. Dako dyan ang atong A because major axis man na. So we have there the length of the major axis is 2A. Kanisiya 2A. And then we have there, so kung unsaon man imong 2A class, kung pila value sa imong A dira, imo na siyang i-multiply. Okay, kung unsay value sa imong A, imo na siyang i-multiply para makuha nimo imong major axis. Now, next is the coordinates of the vertices are positive, negative A, and then 0. So, since 'di ba ang atuang graph is pa-horizontal man or pa-x-axis. And then, di ba, sa ato ang graph sa ellipse is naman diri atong vertex diri. Ko vertex maning pabarog. So, kani siya, makuha dahil ni nato siya kung atong gamito ng ato ang A and then 0. So, nganong 0, teacher? Because origin man ta class. So, meaning to say, naara na siya diri mag-lie. and then 0 na ang atoang y. So that's why inyo makita diha, it could be negative or positive. Magdepende man kung unsay given. Okay? So we have there, mo na siya tong coordinates sa tong vertices. While the length of the minor axis is 2b. So katong pabarog na because gamay man ang kaniyang b. So imo ning kwaon ang imong value sa b dira and then multiply by 2. Makuha na nimo imong minor axis. And then imuhang coordinates sa imuhang co-vertices, kay you will have, since di ba pabarog naman siya, so 0 na ang iyahang x, and then ang iyahang y could be positive, negative b. Kung pilay makuha ni mga value diri sa imong b, more na mo i-substitute diri. Okay? And then the coordinates, nganong positive, negative, kay pababaw o paubos man na siya class. Okay? Now, we have there the coordinates of the foci are positive, negative, c, 0. So, teacher, nganong ari nasad ta sa ato ang x-axis magbutang sa atong c? Because, di ba, ang foci is pahigda man and it lies on our x-axis. So, mo nang naara diri ang imuhang value. And then, that is equivalent to 0 kay origin man siya class. Di ba, if origin ang atong center kay 0, 0 man siya. Okay? So, that is how you are going to have the standard form of the equation of an ellipse with a center 0, 0 or origin. So, ayaw kalibog class ha. This is, kuan pa ni siya, horizontal ang atuang graph. Mao ni siya ang formula. And you have to take note this one, kung asa nimo gamiton ang A, asa nimo gamiton ang B, asa nimo gamiton ang imuhang C. Okay. Now, do you have any questions? Sige, para mas makuan na to, matubag na to dayon. So far, wala pa questions? Okay, wala pa siguro. So now this time, let's have here the graph. So mo ni siya tong graph class. So di ba mao man ni siya pahigda man ni siya horizontal man siya. So we have there ang atong center kay 0, 0. And then if magkuha ta sa ato ang foci, we are going to use the C and then 0 and then negative C, 0. Okay, that is, di ba, your foci man. This one. Mo na siya gamit sa tong C. And then if we are going to have our A, so that is the vertex. For vertex, we have A0. And then for ang pikas nga vertex, we have negative A, 0. And then for our V, that is V or B. Okay. For our B, that is already your co-vertex. So for your co-vertex, you have there 0 and then B. And then the other one is 0 and negative b. Okay, so if we're going to look at that one in a graph, that is how it looks like. Okay? So I hope na-identify ra ninyo no og nakasunod ra ta sa tuang kuan sa tuang graph. So much better jud class nga ato siyang i-graph because mas ma-identify man gud nato siya dayon if we're going to graph that one. Okay, by using lang sa tuang mga given. Now let's go to our given the vertices of an ellipse centered at the origin, write its equation in standard form. So these are the steps if we are going um, to get the standard form of our ellipse given the vertices and foci. Okay, and then nagyapon ta sa origin has, nagstay pa ta sa origin. So we have there for step 1, please read um, Mascardo.
Give uh, determine whether the of x or y axis if the given coordinates of x and foci have the form plus a o plus a o and plus co so within the magic axis x plus 2 x minus 2 minus a2 y2 b2 equals 1. Number 2, use the equation C2 in B2, B2 along with the given coordinates of the and for southward B2. Substitute the values for A2 and B2 into standard form equation determined in step 1.
Okay, thank you, Edward, for reading our sentences here. So we have for number 1, we are going to determine whether the major axis lies on the x or y axis. So how are we going to know gani if it lies on x or y axis? Unsa gyatong palatandaan? Wow, Tagalog. Unsaon gayto nato pagkahibaw nga naa siya na lie sa x or y axis?
Si A squared siya kay may numerator.
Si numerator, denominator. Maybe denominator.
At denominator na siya.
Okay. So, very good, Ando. So, ato lang dyan tanawon kung asa atong A squared dira or asa ato ang A. Okay? Para maka-identify ta if major axis niya kay naglay sa X or naglay sa Y. Sige, class. What if kung ang A kay naa si denominator siya sa B, asa naglay ang atong major axis? Sige daw.
Sa Y siya.
Okay, so why? Very good. So, how about kung ang atuang A is denominator siya sa atuang X asa naglay? Ang atuang major axis. Nasa X or nasa Y? Pa horizontal, pa vertical?
Horizontal.
Horizontal. Very good. So, sige, that's great. Kon, push lang yun ta, kung ano dyan ni masabtan. So we have there for our number 1, we have there's if the given coordinate of the vertices and foci have the form positive, negative 0, positive, negative 0, and positive, negative c respectively, then the major axis is the x-axis. So tanawon lang yun din nato nga porma basta ang atong a kay naa sa x, and then ang atuang c kay nasa x, meaning to say naa na siya sa x-axis ang major axis. If ever dili standard form ang gihatag, class. Okay, if ever dili pa ang standard form ang gihatag, kanilang sa atong tan-awon. Kung ang iyahang given kay ang vertex, di ba ang vertex na to is ang atong A. And then ang atuang C is foci. So basta na ang given niya sa X, meaning to say nasa x-axis atong major axis. Okay, remember that one ha, kani siya nga form. So you have there, gamito na din na to ang formula. So we have there x squared over a squared minus y squared minus b squared over b squared. Okay. So, we have there, mag-use na dayon ta sa atong sa atong problem number 2. Step number 2. Use the equation c squared is equals to a squared minus b squared, along with the given coordinates of the vertices and the foci to solve the b squared. So, niya na tala, teacher, lahi lasad lagi atong mga formula. Sa kani class, kuha ni siya, typo ni siya. X squared over a squared plus ni siya plus y squared over b squared is equals to 0. Okay? Kay plus man ta basta ellipse. Okay, na-typo na siya, class.
Kanang dili na siya equals 1 char, equals 0 na siya char.
Adi, equals 1 ni siya ang kaniba. Plus ni siya.
Okay, sure.
Equals 1 jud ang ellipse, class. Okay, kanira siya ang nasayop, sorry kani. Plus na siya. Okay? Now, we have there, yan na tala, teacher, na c squared is equals to a squared minus b squared lagi na siya. Okay? Actually, same ra na siya sa katong a squared is equals to b squared plus c squared. Ang atong gibuhat lang ani class is kay ang atoang gipangita man is ang kuan man ang c squared. Ang b squared man. Okay, actually same ra na sila if ato ni siyang i-transpose on the left side ang mahitabuan na c squared plus b squared is equals to a squared. Okay, so kuan ni siya you're gonna use the kato ganing mga transpose. Okay. So, along with the given coordinates of the vertices and foci to solve the b squared. But if maglibog mo ani class, you can still use katong a squared is equals to b squared plus c squared. Okay, ra gyapon to siya ha, Pythagorean theorem. Same ra gyapon na siya answer, class if we're going to solve. Okay? And now, since you are done, if you're done getting your b squared, then that's the time you can substitute the values for your ab or for your a squared and b squared into the standard form of the equation determined in step 1. So, if makuha na nimo ang value sa imuhang b or sa imuhang b squared, sa imuhang using sa Pythagorean nga theorem, then pwede na nimong i-substitute imong a squared dire. For example, imo nakuha sa imong a kay 2. So, 2 squared, that is 4. And then sa imong b squared, for example, 5. So, 5 squared, that is 25. And then, x squared over 4 plus y squared over 25 is equals to 1. Then, that is already your standard form. Okay, ang atong given anak class ha kay vertex og foci, which is kani. Okay. So far, na questions? Walay question? Okay, so sige, mo-proceed ta. So you have there, kanina po siya is standard forms of the equation of an ellipse with center 0. So, kani siya class, this is already in vertical nga form. Okay, so pavarog na ni siya kay ganina mga x raman to atong gipang explain. So, this time this is already in terms of y-axis ang iyahang major axis. So, ang changes ra gyud niya class is katulang yung a squared og ang a og imuhang b, or imuhang minor og major. So, we have there, ang atong gamiton, basta y-axis gani is mao na ni siya. As you can see, ang atong a, naa na siya na under sa ato ang y. Okay, na siya na under sa atong y. So, ang standard equation na niya is x squared over b squared plus y squared over a squared is equals to 1. Okay, and then as you can see, a still is greater than b. Always dyan na siya class kay major axis man ang a. So, ang length sa iyahang major axis, that is 2a, the same gihapon. Pero this one is nanay changes class. Kay di ba pa varog naman ni kay vertical naman. So ang iyahang coordinates sa iyahang vertices, so di ba naa naman na sa y-axis ang porma kay barog man siya. So meaning to say bali na pud siya, that is 0 and then positive negative a. And then for your minor axis, that is still 2b, pero ayahang pag right na sa imong coordinates, that is already negative b, positive negative b, 0. And then ang coordinates na to sa foci kay 0 and positive negative c. As you can see, ang atuang vertex o ang atong foci is naa sa y. Because ang major axis man nato class naman siya sa y. Okay, so that's why ang iyahang mga vertices ug iyahang foci is in terms of y pod. Okay? Nasabtan or na ay questions? Wala ra? Nagets ra class? Sige, let me know daw basin naglibog na mo and then layo na kitag naabtan. Nagets ra? Sige. Okay, so now this time is tanaw na to unsa iyahang porma. So this is in terms of iyahang y axis kay naa dito ang major axis. So mo ni siya class pavarog. So as you can see ang iyahang foci, this one, that is 0 and then c. And then we have on the other hand 0 negative c. And then, ang iyahang vertices, we have there 0, A, and then 0, negative A. And then, ang iyahang minor axis is nasa X, in terms of X siya. So, we have there B0, and then negative B0. Okay? Kung ano siya class ha, this is an example of iyahang major axis is in Y-axis. Okay. So, I hope nakasunod ra, no? And now, let's have the standard form of the equation of an ellipse with center 0. So, mo ni siya ang atuang, nibalik na ni siya, no? Okay, nibalik na ni siya. So, same gihapon, x squared plus b squared as x squared over b squared plus c squared, y squared over a squared is equals to 1. Now, this time is maunasad ni siya ang atuang steps. If we are given vertices and foci, and then naayang center sa origin, and then atong i-write ang iyang standard form. So actually the same procedure ra gyud siya class. Ang changes ra gyud is asa nato ibutang ang atong b, asa nato ibutang atong a sa adto ba sa ato ang x or adto ba sa atong y. So we have there determine whether the major axis lies on x or y axis. So ang kani siya kay respectively this is the major axis is in the y axis. So tan-aw lang gihapon nato tong vertex class ug ang atoang foci. Sayop ni siya class ha, it should be 0, positive, negative c. Nabali na siya class. Kaya dapat pareha man na sila. 0, positive, negative A, that is for our vertex. And then for our foci, 0, positive, negative C. Okay, typo gihapon ni. And then use the standard form, katong gigamit ganina. And then you can use this equation or katong a squared is equals to b squared plus c squared to get or to solve your b since ang gihatag ani is a og c raman. And then you're going to substitute the values for your a squared and b squared so that you can get the standard form of the equation determined in our step 1. So ang changes ra gyud niya kyas ang placement ra sa imong a ug sa c in order for you to make an equation of your ellipse. Okay. So, nasabtan ra, nakasunod.
Okay ra siya.
Okay. Now, this time, class, is we have here our example. So, nahatag naman tanan answer diretso, no? Kaya di ma-apply ang PowerPoint sa kuan good sa Google Slides. Di ma-apply ang effects. So, we have here our example number 1. So, ang given class is equation of an circle, of an ellipse, centered at the origin in standard form. So, what is the standard form of the equation of the ellipse that has vertex, positive 8, negative 8, 0, and the foci positive, negative 5, 0. So, by looking at this vertex and foci class, what is the kuan ani? Um, what is the graph? Is it horizontal or vertical? Sige daw.
Horizontal.
Okay. Horizontal. Because naman sa x-axis atong vertex class o naman natay value sa to ang x-axis which is 8 and 5. And actually makita na ninyo sa second. So we have there the foci are on the x-axis. So horizontal siya. So the major axis is in the x-axis. Thus the equation will have the form of kani. So x squared over a squared plus y squared over b squared is equals to 1. Now, this time, di ba ma-identify na dayon na to ang iyahang vertices. So, unsan man na to pag-identify? So, we have first, di ba, ang atong vertex, kay mo man na siya ang kanisiya, positive, negative 8, 0. So, imong kwaon ng 8, so that is a is equals to 8. And then, imo man na siya squared para makuha nimo ang kanidiri. So, ang A man na siya, di ba? A0 man ni siya class. A0. So, ang atong buhaton anak class is we're going to get the positive lang. Okay? Kay nga naman class, kay ang kana kung magamit sad ka og negative 8, parehara man sad Japon siya answer good kay. Negative 8 is squared nimo, that is still positive 64 man. Okay, so same lang gihapon. So it could be 8 or negative 8. Because if we're going to get our a squared, which is ato ibutang sa atong standard form, that is still equal to 64. Okay? So we're done with our vertex. Makuha na nato siya. Nakuha na nato siya, which is 64. Now we're going to go to foci, which is positive, negative 5, 0. So you have there, imo lang gyapon ko ng 5, and then c is equals to 5, and then imo siya is squared. That is equivalent to 25. Siya, teacher, anong gikuha pa man natong c squared nga wala naman siya kinahanglan sa tong standard form. Remember, we're going to use this one sa tuang next step to get our b squared. In which, gamito nato ang atuang formula nga c squared is equals to a squared minus b squared, or katong a squared is equals to b squared plus c squared. Okay? Mo nang need gihapon nato atong foci. So, ato ra siyang i-substitute. So, we have there 25 is equals to 64 is equals to b squared. So, ato rang i-transpose 64. 64 minus 25, that is 39. 39 ba? Pila class? 64 minus 25. Diretso naman ni siya answer good.
39.
39 jud siya. Ay, sakto di ay. 25. Yeah, 39. Okay, so diretso na na siya class kay ang kanay mong gibutang diha a squared og c squared naman na imo naman ang gi-square daan. So you have there your b squared is equals to 39. So imo na siyang i-substitute class katong mga values nga kinahanglan, ang a squared kay 64, ang b squared kay 39. Diba, as you can see, mas dako ang 64 kaysa sa 39. Because that is your major axis nga naa sa imuhang x axis. Okay, so that is how you are going to make your standard equation in our ellipse. So far, na questions,
Wala, teacher.
clarifications, violent reactions, wala ra? Okay. Now this time, we have here writing equations of ellipses not centered at the origin. Kay kato itong mga example ganina, kato itong mga gihatag nga mga given, or actually usar ang example nga kung gihatag. So we have there is kato is nasa origin kay iyahang center. Pero how about this one nga wala sa center ang ihang origin? Meaning to say dili 0 0 class. Kato dali ra man to siya ma-identify kay 0 0 man dayon. So if not in the origin ang ato ang center, we are going to have like the graphs of other equations, the graph of an ellipse can be translated. It is an ellipse is translated by h units horizontally and k units vertically. So the same as what we have in our parabola, we're going to use HK as our center. Okay, unsa gaytoy pares sa H class? X or Y? Sige, try daw if nakainumdum pa.
Why, teacher?
Y? Is it Y? H. Okay, that is the X. So you will have there your, 'di ba, X minus H man to sa inyong mga sa inyong mga sa inyong parabola last time and as well as in your circle. I hope you can still remember. So, ang atong buhaton ana niya is mo lang gyapon. Same process. So, we have there ang imuhang magamit. The translation results in the standard form of the equation we saw previously would be x replaced by x minus h and then y replaced by y minus k. So, katong na x squared nimo dito class, ang ibutang na nimo dito is x minus h squared. And then, ang sa y could be y minus k squared. And remember that h and k will be your center. Okay, naana na siya values class. Meaning to say, dili na siya 0, 0. Okay, understand? Okay. Sige. Now, this time is medyo, kuan biya ni siya kanang, libog siya in terms of graph or sa equation. So, maybe ako lang siyang i-write sa Jamboard para mas ma-identify ninyo og maayo. Okay, so you have there the standard form of the two equation of an ellipse with center HK and the major axis parallel to x is. So you have there x minus h squared over a squared. Okay. Recall week 5. Okay. So we have this one. So ang forma na niya is we have there x minus, para mas makita ninyo, x minus h squared or quantity x minus h squared over a squared plus y minus k squared over b squared is equal to 1. Okay? So, mo ni siya class. Ang changes ra gyud kay, di ba, ang pag-last kay x squared raman to siya diretso kay origin. So, kanira pud ang na-change. And then remember that this one and this one are your center. So, center is equals to h and then k. Okay? Kay basin maglibog mo ba kay sa atong kuan diri sa formula sa slide na ko kay wala mong good siya in terms of fractions. So as you can see there, since ato ang major axis kay naaman siya sa x-axis, so same gyapon ganina ang atong a kay naa sa x or denominator siya sa atong x. So you have there A is greater than B. And then for your length of the major axis, 2A gyapon siya class. And then for your coordinates, kay kuan na siya. H plus or H positive negative A and then K. Okay, you have there H positive negative A and then K. That is your vertex. Okay? Imo ni siyang i-add. So H plus A and then H minus A and then K ang tapad. So kung unsay K nimo diha imo na siya ibutang dira. While ang imuhang length sa imong minor axis kay 2B. So for your 2B, you will have there H and then K plus B or K minus B. So same lang gihapon ganina, ang changes ra gyud kay naa natay value sa ato ang center nga 0. Kay ganina 0 ra man to. So this time ang atong buhaton is nanatay K ug ato ang H. Remember nga ang atong H ha kay X na siya per me and then ang ato ang K kay Y na siya in terms of Y. And then for your foci kay you will have H plus C or H minus C and then K. So same gyapon ganina class nga to ang A o gatong C na sa tong x-axis because this one kay ang major axis naman sa x-axis. Okay, so kuan ra class na gets ra ang flow or na questions so far.
Yes.
Gets ra? Okay. Very good. So now we have here this one. So standard forms of the equation of an ellipse with center HK. So the standard equation of an ellipse with center HK niya ay ang major axis kay naa sa Y. So bali lang sad siya. Ang A squared nato na siya sa ubos sa Y minus K squared. So just as with the ellipse centered at the origin, ellipses that are centered at a point HK have vertices, co-vertices, and foci related by the equation C squared is equals to A squared minus B squared. And we can use the relationship along with the midpoint and the distance formula to the equation an ellipse in standard form when vertices and foci are given. So same ra siya sa ganina class. Ang mausab ra niya is for example, kung y na ta, ang kani siya ang mahitabuan ni K, ang mahitabuan ni H, and then we have there K plus minus B, and then ang atuang minor axis, you will have there H plus minus B, K, and then ang kani siya, we have H and K plus negative C. Okay, so more right changes niya. Nabali lang yun gihapon ang iyahang kuan. Ayahang pagbutang. So, class, para di yun mo maglibog, no, inyo yun na siyang i-graph. Ma-identify na ninyo kung unsay iyahang mga coordinates dira. Okay, so this is in terms of y-axis or pa vertical iyahang graph. Now, we have here mo niyang graph class para mas ma-identify ninyo maayo. So this one kay this is in terms of x iyahang major axis. So for the center mo na siyang HK nimo. So ang pagkuha nimo sa iyang foci sa right. So you have there H plus C and then K. And then sa pikas is H minus C, K. And then for minor axis, since naman siya sa Y, so we'll have there H and then comma K plus B. And then you have there H comma K minus B. And then for your vertex, you have there H plus A comma K and then H minus A comma K. And then on the other hand, we have here our in terms of y-axis ang iyahang major axis. So yeah, major axis is, you have there for your foci, h, comma, k plus c. And then you have there sa picas, h, comma, k minus c. And then you have vertex, h, comma, k plus a. And then h, comma, k minus a. For minor, you have there h plus b, comma, k, h minus b, comma, k. Okay, kung maglibog mo class, kung unsaon ninyo siya pagkuan, balik-balik ka lang nigtan-aw nga to ang graph para mas ma-identify ninyo maayo. Okay? And now, let's have here the steps. Kung unsaon na to paghimo sa to ang standard form sa to ang equation. So, you have there kung given gyapon ang atong vertices ug atong foci. So, we have there i-determine gyapon nato kung x ba siya or y axis ang iyahang major axis. And then, if the y-coordinate of the given vertices and foci are the same, okay, remember that one. Kung the same ang iyahang vertices ug ang iyahang foci, then ang major axis is parallel. Okay? Iyahang major axis kay parallel. So, we have there parallel to the x-axis. So, ang mga gamiton kay kanisiya. X minus h squared over a squared plus y minus k squared over b squared is equals to 1. But, if the x-coordinates of the given vertices and foci are the same, then the major axis is parallel to y-axis. So, kanina itong gamiton. Okay, remember ha, kung ang iyang x-coordinates kuno kay the same. Well, ang kani, kung y-coordinates niya kay the same, x-axis iyang major axis. Pero kung iyahang x-coordinates kay pariha ang iyang coordinates sa vertices ug sa foci, y-axis ang iyahang major axis. And then ato lang i-identify iyahang center using the midpoint formula. So how are we going to get the midpoint formula? Kay numdum pa mo sa midpoint formula class when you were in grade 10, grade 9, grade 8?
Katong x sub 1
Yes.
answer katong x sub 1 plus x sub 2 over 2 and y
Y-
sub 1 plus y sub 2 over 2.
yes, very good, Roha. That is our midpoint formula. So ato na siyang kuhaon. I-add ra nato atong x sub 1 plus x sub 2 and then divided by 2 and y sub 1, y sub 2 divided by 2. Okay, very good. So gamiton nato atong midpoint para makita nato atong center. Okay, and next one, we are going to find our a squared by solving the length of the major axis, which is the distance between the given vertices. So, since ihatag man na ang given vertices class, imurang isolve or imurang kuhaon ang imuhang a. Same sa atong gibuhat ganina sa origin ang iyahang center. Next is find c squared using the h and k found in step 2. So, we are given there coordinates for the foci. Diba, foci man ang ato ang c. And then, for b, kay gamito na nato itong formula sa Pythagorean theorem. And then, i-substitute ra nato ang ato ang h, atong k, atong a squared, o ang b squared. So, here, upat na ato ang i-substitute class. Ang h, ang k, ang a squared, ug ang b squared para mabuhat na nato atong equation. Okay? So, I know this one nga kanang naatay value sa atong center is mas taas-taas iyahang way sa solving unlike sa katong ganina nga atong gi-explain. So, which is mas easier or mas dali siya. Okay, so class, I know it's 10:06 na hapit na tamhuman, last 2 slides na lang. Okay, so I will be giving you an example for this one. So we have there. Okay. So what is the standard form of the equation of the ellipse that has vertex nga -2, -8, and then -2, and -2, 2, and foci niya kay -2, -7, and negative 2, 1. So, yung vertex kay negative 2, negative 8, negative 2, 2. We have foci, negative 2, negative 7, negative 2, 1. So, sa given na to class, unsa kaha ang iyahang graph? Horizontal, vertical? Unsa kaha to ang kwan ani?
Vertical siya.
Okay, vertical. Is it varog or higda?
Farog.
Varog. Sige, tanaw na to. Asa man ang iyahang the same class?
Ay,
Iyahang
horizontal.
X or iyahang Y? Unsay same nila, X or Y?
X.
Okay, we have the X because 'di ba ang ato ang vertex diri we have negative 2 and then foci negative 2, negative 2. So ningon man ta basta ang iyaha ganing coordinates kay same ang iyahang vertex ug iyahang foci kay ang iyahang major axis is parallel to y axis. So meaning to say ang atong equation ana nga gamiton is we're going to have x minus h squared over a squared plus y minus k squared over b squared is equals to 1. So, meaning to say, atong graph ani is horizontal. Okay? So, since nakabaw naman ta kung unsay porma sa iyahang graph, and then we're going to identify already sa iyahang center. So, unsa na to pagkuha sa iyang center class? So, we have there negative 2, negative 8, and negative 2, 2. So, atong gamiton ang atoang midpoint formula. Okay, so ang atong gamiton is kanang naa sa vertex. So, teacher, nganong vertex atong gamiton? Because diha man nato mahibaw-an di ba ang atong vertex kung kuan ba siya, long ba siya or major axis ba siya. So diha nato makita iyahang center using the vertex. Kay endpoints man nato ang vertex. So we can use our vertex to get our center. Na-Gira class nganong vertex ang gamiton. Kailangan ko magpakita graph. Okay. Kaya nga naman class, di ba, mama niya ang center na to. And then, ang B na ang vertex na to is kanisiya. So, makuha man ni nato ang center kung i-add ni nato ang duha ka vertex and then i-half. Kaya kung i-add ni nato siya, mo ni siya ang tibuok nato nga major axis. Pero if we are going to half that one or i-divide nato siya to, ang center ang atong makuha. Okay? That's why we're going to use the vertex in getting our center. Nag-gets ra? Or naay questions? Okay ra? Nasabtan ra? Basta remember lang yun, we're going to use our vertex in getting our center. So, same sa katong giingon ni Rojo ganina, which is HK or center is equals to x sub 1 plus x sub 2 divided by 2. And then y sub 2, y sub 1 plus y sub 2 over 2. And then kuha na nato siya, i-substitute. So, for example, kani siya x sub 1 and y sub 1. And then negative 2, 2, this is y sub 1 and y sub 2. Then you're just going to substitute. So, x sub 1 na to is negative 2. And then x sub 2 na to is negative 2. Plus negative 2. And then i-divide og 2. And then we have for y sub 1 that is negative 8. Plus y sub 2 that is 2 and then over 2. And then simplify. Negative 2 plus negative 2 that is negative 4. Negative 4 divided by 2 that is negative 2. And then sa imuhang y, negative 8 plus 6 that is negative Negative 8 plus 2, that is negative 6. Negative 6 divided by 2, that is negative 3. So meaning to say, our center is in negative 2, negative 3. So nakuha na nato atong center, class. So we are done with our step 2. So sige, na questions ani nga part. Kung giyon sa pagkuha ang center. Or wala ra. Wala. Okay. Magkuan ko ha, mag-assume ko nga nasabtan ra sa tanan. So we have there for next step, di ba? We're done with the center. So pangitaw na nato atong A, atong B, ug atong C. So to get that one is we have to find first our A. So the length of the major axis is 2A man, di ba? Sa sinugdanan pa lang sa atong discussion, ingon ta nga 2A ang ato ang major axis. So it is bounded by the vertices. So kaning 2A nato is makita gyud nato siya sa atong vertex. So we solve for A by finding the distance between y coordinates of the vertices. So you have there 2A is equals to 2 minus negative 8. So asa man asa man tagikan ani ato ang 2 og negative 2, di ba? Ang ato ang vertex diha we have negative 2, negative 8 man. So it's either of the two kung asa tong gamiton. So we have there ang atong gigamit diri is negative 2 man. Negative 2 and then minus negative 8. So you will have there mo na siyang i-kuan sa imong 2A because 2A is major axis man. So you will have there mahimo siya og 10 because 2 minus no, this is negative 2 plus negative 8. And the negative 2 plus sakto ba? Negative 2 plus negative 8, that is negative 10 man. Yes, sakto. Negative 2 plus negative 8 na siya, class. And then, kung i-add nimo, that is equivalent to 10. Type po ning na A diri ha, that is 10. And then, divide it both sides by 2, so A is equals to 5. Natapad man gud siya. Ato siya ipakita, bi, para mo maglibog. So, you have there, 2A is equals to, di ba, 2A is your major axis. And then, gamito na to ang katong vertex nga negative 2 and then negative 8. So, ato ra na siyang i-add, class. Negative 2 plus negative 8. So, that is equivalent to negative 10. And then, divide both sides by 2 para A na lang ang makita. So, you will have there A is equals to 5. And then, para makuha na to itong A squared, ato na siyang I-squared ang 5. So, that is equivalent to 25. Okay, so mara na siya itong ibuhat, class. Dire. Basin maglibog mo ba kay tungod sa iyang suwat? Natapad manggod siya. So, nakita na nato ato ang A squared, which is 25. Now, mo sunod na yun ta sa atong C. So, di ba, ang makita na to ang C kay sa atong foci man. And then, the foci are given in H, K plus minus C, and then H is equals to K minus C. So, that is equivalent to negative 2, 7, and then we have there 2 and 1. So, atong i-substitute ang atong K ganina nga nakuha na to sa tuang midpoint. Not 3 but negative 3. Diba itong nakuha ganina sa tuang kanisya? Diba H man ni ang kaning negative 2 and then ang K is mao ni siya tuang negative 3. So, ato ra na siyang i-substitute. Okay, ato ni ring gamiton ang atoang katong formula ganina or makita na to get our C. Okay? Nya ha mag kuan sa ko kay nalubat moment sa. Oops. Okay, and then ato ra to siyang i-substitute. So we have there our K plus C. So atong C dira is kuan man equivalent to negative 2 and 1. So you're going to substitute. So you have there 1 and then negative 3 plus C, that is 1 gihapon. And then C is equals to 4, so C squared is equals to 3. So your C squared there will be equivalent to 16. Okay. So giunsa na siya pagkuha, teacher. So imo ra nang gamiton imuhang di ba diri gikan kay sa tuang C anak class di ba kung vertical or horizontal, that is H minus CK man. Hala, bali man day ni. H minus CK ni siya class ha. Sayop ni siya. Kay pahigda man nga to ang graph ani. Yeah, pahigda. So, bali akong pagkasuwat ani class. It should be K or we have there H plus C and then K and then we have H minus C and then K. Pa-vertical man day ni, pa-horizontal man day ni siya. And then H, comma, K plus C. No. Balik yapon ni. This is H plus C and then K. So, gamiton, unsa di given? Oh, ara kani siya. Negative 2, negative 7, and then negative 2, negative 1. So, para makuha na to atong C, ato na siyang ipang add sa imuhang K nga negative 3. So, negative 3, and then, ang gikuha nimo ani siya kay K plus C is equals to 1. And then, i-substitute nimo imuhang negative, imuhang K, that is negative 3. And then, i-transpose nimo, that is equivalent. Okay, board. So, you will have there K plus C is equal to 1. So, muna siya naitabo. So, you have there K plus C is equals to 1. And then, i-substitute nimo mong nakuha ganina sa midpoint, which is negative 3. And then, plus C, since wala pa man ta nakakuha sa tong C, equivalent na to siya og 1 because that is man sa ellipse. And then, to get your value sa C, i-transpose lang nimo siya. So, you have there C is equals to 1 and then negative 3 will become positive 3. So, mana kay C is equals to 4. And then, imo na siyang squared, that is equivalent to 16. So, manang na kay 16 diri sa imuhang C. Okay? So, since nakuha naman ni mo imuhang C, then that's the time makasolve na ka sa imuhang B. Which is, makita man nato nga ang atoang A kay nadyo siya sa x-axis. And then, ang kanisya na siya sa x-axis pud ang iyahang negative 2 kay pareha. So, you have there your solve na for the equation para makuha na tong B, which is 9. So, 16 is equals to 25 and then transpose 25 minus 16, that is equivalent to 9. So, meaning to say, our B squared is equal to 9. So, imo na siyang i-substitute. So, di ba, ang ato ang center nga nakuha ganina is negative 2, negative 3. And then, ang ato ang A squared kay we have 25. And then, ang ato ang C squared, B squared na lang atong gamiton because wa man siya nagkinahanglan sa kuan. For our B squared, we have 9. So, di ba, naingon man ta nga, atong graph is pa horizontal. So, we have there X, and then, di ba, atong H, kay mao man ni siya, And then this one is our K. So from -2 may mo siyang +2 and then squared. And then over ang atong A that is 25 plus you have there pikas na pud ta y and then -3 may mo siyang +3 and then squared over 9 is equal to 1. So that is now your final answer. Okay, na-gets ra class? Or na questions? Na question sa example? Sige, ask daw.
Teacher,
Hello? Yeah.
what's this? This is not really related, but like, I'm pretty, I'm like really late. So, are you gonna, are you gonna put are you gonna put the PDF or the PPT inside the LMS or no?
Ah, yes. Actually, nani siya sa LMS na.
Okay.
Yes. Okay. So far, na questions, class? Sige, how about the others?
Kanang chair magkuan ra nara kay i-post na video ni chair or wala sa LMS.
I-post guro ni nako ang akong record nga video. If dali ra siya mo-post, kay data man gud ni siya. So, try lang nako, try.
Okay, chair.
Sige. Any other questions? Actually, man na, last na to siya. Wala ray questions? It's already 10:24 na. Lapas kay kog 24 minutes. Sige, if wala na question, I think we're just going to end here and then prepare for an activity and a quiz. So, since we are having Saturday man ron para dili mo kanang or makakuan pa mo maka-rest pa mo ron. I think ako lang siyang i-open ron and then ma-close siya on Thursday. Sa klase ninyo on Thursday. Okay? I'll give you long time lang kay I know kuan sad siya. Lapod mo daing gibuhat. Okay.